Hello, everyone. I've had a few of you already ask about the case study paper that's coming up here in a couple of weeks, so I thought I'd get that video taken care of now and get everything set up for you. Uh, but to preface that, I think I should go back to my last video and talk about something that I neglected to do then, which I regret, honestly, and that is to explain the why behind the assignments. And your instructor should always do this, and I apologize that I neglected to do so when I was talking about deadlines, but the why is probably the most important part of deadlines, right? So in our class, we have those things due every Wednesday and every Sunday evening, and if you don't meet those deadlines, you lose a few points. And that's sort of nominal as far as the point totals for the regular stuff goes. But as we go through the semester, we're going to end up with these three bigger paper projects. And missing those deadlines, that's a larger thing to try and dig yourself out of. Not impossible. I've had students do it before. But the reason we have the deadlines and that there's no points after those deadlines is to help prepare you for future career goals and future obligations that you will have in careers, right? So when your boss, after you graduate, when your boss says, I need this on my desk by 3 o'clock on Friday, they don't mean 3:45, they don't mean Saturday, they don't mean Monday. They mean that Friday at 3 o'clock. And not doing so could cost you. It could cost you a raise, could cost you a promotion, could cost you your job. And those are huge life issues. Now, right now, if you miss a deadline, well, and you lose some points. And nobody's probably going to bother you about it ever again. I really can't imagine any scenario later on in life where you're sitting across a table from someone, and they lean in and give you that sort of shifty eye and say something along the lines of, explain to me what happened in week 4 of Communication Studies 313 and why you didn't get full points in the discussion board posts. It's just not going to happen. Completely and totally inconceivable. So if something happens now, miss a few points. But think of our classes and your deadlines as practice for real world activities. And I'll give you a larger justification for the case study paper here as we go through the assignment too. So let's go find that for you. I've got our regular homepage set up right now for you. Go and take a look at this thing. I've just got the administrative documents page opened up down here, but you can also find everything through the table of contents page as well. But the case study is embedded within the syllabus. And then 2 down, there's an example of a case study paper, which you can open and look at in your leisure. Do note that the example doesn't have a student name and title on it right now. Those have been removed so we can protect the author. It's somebody that volunteered up their previous paper that we could use as an example. It's not perfect. It's decent. So when you write your own, please include your name. Please include a title, even though the example doesn't have one necessarily set up there for you. So let's zip over to the syllabus. And at the top of page 5, under the assignments categories, you find the case study paper. Let's look down through this. And if you need to, pause the video really quickly, go ahead and pull open the syllabus for yourself. Maybe even have a blank document open so you can take notes as we go. Now it says here, the goal of this case study paper is to apply course concepts to real-life examples of mediated communication. The ability to apply course concepts to a real-life example will help you make use of the information you learn in class in the real world. In your case study paper, pick an example of something. For example, a current event or news story, a website or application or experience you've had to which concepts we've covered so far, which will, by the time we get to the case study assignment, will be overview of communication technologies, interpersonal relationships, and impression management. Your example should be fairly specific to allow for in-depth analysis. Now, this means that you might be interested in working with Facebook, right? But that's a huge topic, and we could talk about Facebook for a year and still not cover everything involved with it. So we need to find something specific within there. So perhaps you want to talk about the Friends Day thing they had going on this week, where people could post up, here's pictures of my friends, and there's a little music video that goes to it. Or you want to talk about something that they've done, changing rules, or with the advertising that's gone in there, or the way that people present themselves in Facebook. Regardless, it needs to be a very specific example. Because even though you take that, we take the large example and go all the way down to specific, doing so allows you to actually be more thorough in your analysis of it. So this is only a 4 to 5 page paper. If you're going to cover all of Facebook, you're really not going to be able to explain anything other than going through a laundry list of ideas that are better suited for a pamphlet as to what Facebook is. But then having that specific example allows us to broaden that out and really go in depth on what happened there. And then take our course concept ideas and apply them extensively to that one particular incident. So as it says here, your example should be fairly specific to allow for in-depth analysis. Your application paper should do two things. First, it should review contemporary research on a topic relevant to communication technologies and use this research to analyze your example. So that means finding that one particular idea and then bringing research along. And as we'll see here in a little bit, we need to bring a couple of sources from outside of what we've studied on. But I completely and totally and absolutely would like you to use things from our readings thus far. It's one of the reasons, going back to why again, one of the reasons that I'm having you use specific passages from our reading, so that when you go back and you look at your discussion posts again, there might be something right there that you've already cited and have everything typed out and an analysis of that you can drag and put directly into your paper. That'll create a little bit less work for you. Now, I'm not saying that that will be the case. Please understand that. I'm just saying that I'm trying to provide for you an example in the discussions that you might be able to pull into your paper. Don't force it if it's not working. Go find some other stuff. But by that point in time, you'll have read through everything and you'll have a good understanding of what you might want to look for. So let me give you an example of an issue that you could look at before we get into the second part of the case study paper. So an issue that you could look at and how we might apply course concepts to it. So yesterday, and I guess I should preface this just a little bit. This is was construed in a very graphic manner sexually, but was not intended to be. Anyways, yesterday, the Miami Marlins, a Major League Baseball team, posted an unintentionally hilarious tweet on Twitter. And I know that not all of you are interested in baseball. This post in particular doesn't really have a ton to do with baseball, other than the fact that it was sent out by a baseball team. So let's just take a quick look at this thing. So this is what they sent out yesterday at noon. It says, want to join a foursome with a Miami Marlins player. And we see here Giancarlo Stanton. He's their star baseball player. He's obviously missing some clothing. There's water spraying out all over. He's kind of glistening. And of course, people took this to mean some very interesting things. The connotations of it are just amazing. What they had actually intended for to mean was, come on out, we have a golf game going on here soon. And they corrected the tweet and replaced it with this later. The third annual Jack McKeon Celebrity Golf Classic. And we still have Giancarlo Stanton here, right? But he's not really in the same sort of suggestive pose, as we could say. And it's much more obvious that there's a golf game going. And they didn't leave this tweet up for very long. But of course, people responded immediately and started retweeting it and taking screen captures of it. And I'll favor you with a couple of responses here. I won't read them all because some of them get pretty bad. And you can look them up yourself. So, want to join a foursome with a Miami Marlins player? Immediately. Probably have to check with my wife. I'll let you know if she's up for it. Yes, I will do a foursome with Giancarlo. Here's a reference to, I believe, a porn site. Y'all better strike a deal on this one. My wife left me, so this would be comforting. And great responses. Very funny. Not what they were hoping to have happen when they posted this up. And so we'll go back to our instructions here, and you can look that up on your own if you want to read more on it. And honestly, if it's something that you want to cover in your paper, I'm happy to read more about it, because this has just been fantastic in its hilarity. But there are interesting things to say about it too. So let's go back to what we're talking about here. So your paper should do two things. Number one, you should review contemporary research on a topic relevant to communication technologies and use this research to analyze your example. So you would talk about the tweet, you'd have to describe it. There's some citations that you would need to pull in, or somebody else is describing, or what the tweet was itself. And let's look back through our three ideas that we can follow here. So, overview of communication technologies. I guess we can talk a little bit about what communication technologies are supposed to do and what they aren't supposed to do there. Interpersonal relationships. Some people were bringing up some interesting interpersonal relationship ideas there. I don't know if it's the strongest thing to cover there, but there are arguments to be made, certainly. And finally, impression management. And I think that's probably where I would go if I was going to write this paper, because they're trying to manage an impression of an event that was happening, and it really didn't come across how they were hoping the first time. All right, so second, your paper should offer recommendations based on the literature reviewed. So you go back and you look at what you've covered in those journal articles with the course readings, etc., and you say, what might have gone in another direction? Like, what should they have done instead? And certainly there's some easy recommendations to make for that particular tweet. For example, says, does the case highlight the importance of a particular concept? Well, I think impression management, certainly. Should the people in the case have done something differently? Probably should not have posted what amounts to a naked picture of their $325 million star player asking for a foursome, right? So what could they have done differently, and what would you recommend them to do in the future? There needs to be some probably escalating review process for some of the tweets. And we go to the bolded section. So remember, in all cases, remember that you are making an argument based on the literature you viewed, that your interpretation of the issue and the event is accurate and compelling. So in addition to identifying applicable research and concepts and recommendation, you should also provide convincing analysis, right? So what that basically means is leave no doubt. So make an argument, prove it, not just with your own impressions, but also with viable data, viable definitions. What would researchers say about what can you pull in from your other articles? And then tell us how it works. And we go down, we've got our paper descriptions here, 4 to 5 pages, double spaced, doesn't include your references. New Times Roman, 12.5, normal 1-inch margins, pretty simple. Need to bring in 2 additional readings from peer-reviewed scholarly sources. That means other journal articles. And I'm going to show you here in just a moment how to go and do this, because it says we have a wonderful resource library for you to access. So let's go back, and I'm going to go to the university homepage, and I'm going to show you how to find some research articles. It's pretty simple. So just to the right where you normally click on Office 365 to get your emails, it says Libraries. It takes you to the library homepage. And the thing I want you to look at right here is this Search and Find button on the left. If you just highlight that, a drop-down menu comes up. You go to Databases A to Z, though you can look through all these things. I would certainly recommend Databases A to Z. And up comes 349 different databases. These are academic resources. They're gatherings of journal articles, book reviews, newspaper articles, magazines, etc., covering a wide range of topics. And these are all provided to you by your tuition dollars, so I hope you'll use these for a few different classes throughout your time here. Anyway, the second one down is one of my most favorite, Academic Search Complete. It's huge, comprehensive. There's so much information there, you wouldn't even believe it. So let's just type in impression management. I want to show you how vast the resources are, and then we'll whittle it down just a little bit. So we get 2,500 results just for impression management. There's no way you could look through all those. It's absolutely ridiculous. So we need to focus our search parameters. Let's just add in the simple caveat of Twitter. This drops us from 2,500 down to 8, which is much better. And you can look through these pretty easily and find some more information. I just want to show you one quick thing to look for when you go do this. Most of these you click on in Academic Search Complete provide you with a great little resource for your writing that's going to make things easier. So if we look at this microblogging paper, over here on the left is your full article. The abstract tells you more about the paper itself. But then for writing purposes, when you look over to the right side there, you're going to see this little thing that says Cite. If you click on that, it brings up citation formats for the major writing paradigms. We are, as you'll remember, an American Psychological Association writing style, APA. All you guys do is highlight that, copy it, paste that directly into your reference pages, and you won't have to worry about creating that reference for that particular article. Easy peasy, right? So let's go back to our instructions. Now below the standard, here's what you need to do with your paper, we have the grading criteria. And I want you to look at that carefully when you go through and do those things. There's 3 categories. Case analysis is worth 20 points. That's writing about the incident, the idea of the example, and the research. So that's 40% of your assignment right there, covering those things. Your recommendations based on the research, that's worth 40 points, or 40%, 20 points. And 2 to 3 insightful recommendations. Now, for whatever reason in the past, this is the thing that people leave out of their case study papers. And I'm not certain why. I think perhaps just not paying careful attention to the assignment parameters. But don't forget that. You're going to miss a lot of points if you do. And then 20%, 10 points, is for your writing and your style. So is everything grammatically correct? Do you actually use APA citations? Is the font and formatting listed right here, that 4 or 5 pages, etc. Well, not the 4 or 5 pages, the font and the formatting, are those all followed? So don't miss out on the easy points of the paper, right? Do remember that'll be due at 9 o'clock on Sunday, the week we're doing the case study papers. There won't be any discussion that week. There won't be any readings assigned that week. I will just give you that whole week to work on this paper. If you want to get started early, fantastic. Knock yourselves out. If you have questions, let me know. I'm happy to set up a Skype appointment. Otherwise, as usual, I'll see you guys on the discussion forums.